Okay, good morning everyone. We're the first group and our panel discussion today will be about electronics and gadgets and how excessive use of these can affect teenagers' academic performance. Today here we have with us Mr. Jan Angelo C. He is a math teacher from Ateneo de Manila University. And then here we have Dr. Brian Yatco. He is a doctor in psychology. He graduated from Harvard. And with us we have Carlo Manumbas. He's a parent, father. He has 3 sons. And with us we have Jericho Esteron. He is a 3rd-year student in Ateneo de Manila University. So for the start of our presentation, we're going to show a video.
Awa na lang, mga gadget na sobrang tinututukan ngayon ng mga bata. Mali rin daw po ito at masama sa kanilang kalusugan.
Wala nang atak! Wala nang atak!
Sa videong ito, makikitang iyak ng iyak ang nooy 1 taong gulang na si Baby Jerry. Hindi niya tunay na pangalan.
Bata, wala nang atak!
Ayaw kasi itong payagan ng kanyang ina na maglaro sa tablet. Pero dahil hindi tumatahan ng bata, ang ina niya na itago natin sa pangalang Joy, wala rin nagawa, kundi ibigay ang hilig ng kanyang anak.
Atak! Ayan, atak tayo!
Pagpasok pa lang ng aming team sa bahay ng mag-inang Jerry at Joy, nadatnan namin si Baby Jerry na naglalaro sa laptop.
Gusto mo to? Ano ka na ng more? Gusto mo maraming laro?
Sisimulan na sana naming interviewin si Joy. Nung si Baby Jerry, tila may hinihingi pa.
Laro? Laro nga tayo? Aray, bud! Ano gusto lang na? Oh, dali na, huwag na laro na. Sige, para hindi patayin natin yung computer. Kung di bigay sa kanya, magagalit siya. Siyempre yung iba napapanood, may sipa-sipa. Yung suntok-suntok na, parang magagaya niya ata. Nagagalit siya ganun. Agresibo minsan.
2.5 years old na ngayon si Baby Jerry, pangalawang anak at bunso sa pamilya. Kwento ni Joy, 8 buwan pa lang daw ang kanyang anak. Pinapanood na nila ito ng mga palabas sa internet. Katulad ng karamihan sa henerasyon ng mga bata ngayon, kusa raw natutong maglaro sa tablet, laptop o smart.
Okay, so we're not going to show the entire video because it would take too much of our time. I'm just gonna get straight to the panel discussion. So, for our topic again, it's about how electronics and gadgets affect teenagers' academic performance. So we have our panelists here today and we're going to discuss both positive and mainly negative effects of excessive use of these gadgets. So for our first question, what are the different kinds of gadgets that are being used by teenagers nowadays?
Mainly, my kids, they would use their cell phones, their tablets, and laptops. Nowadays, in this generation, also portable consoles are in the trend, and that's what most kids are using today.
I see. Now, how long do they usually use these for?
My kids, I usually limit them to around 4 to 5 hours a day, but it's not that healthy, so I plan on shortening that time.
Okay, would you say they get mad? Like say, you stop them from, like you tell them that it's time to eat or it's time to do their homework. Do they usually get mad?
Yes, because these gadgets are their source of happiness, and it's like taking a break from studying, and it's just how they get their stress out.
Oh, I would like to add on your very first question there, Mr. Moderator. And during my class, I can notice that the students tend to use their cell phones every now and then during my class in mathematics. And at times, I allow them to use their laptops just in case they need note-taking, because at times like these, the gadgets are really useful nowadays, and you can really see the improvement at times, but sometimes you don't see it. And normally, I only allow them to use it when it's only necessary, just in case, because we really need the gadget in need in order for us to answer or see books that are available online or random such. However, I would consider it normal if they use it on the right time, because considering the fact that these teenagers try to use their gadgets during class, it shows a lot about them, about their personality, and it would really look very bad to us teachers that some students are trying to waste time and not listen to the topic at hand.
I see. So you believe like it distracts them instead of helping them in terms of academic performance?
Well, as teachers, we really want to focus them on their academics so that they can graduate and they can also have a good job on their graduation. That is our purpose for being teachers. And it's also a fact that we want them to thrive, or we want them to acknowledge their skills. And that would be wasted if they just keep trying to use their cell phones or their laptops every now and then just to not listen to our topics, because that just shows some disrespect in our turf.
I'd like to add that maybe the problem isn't exactly the gadgets, but maybe it's the student not having the discipline to focus in class. Because if you take away the gadgets, they'll probably be distracted by something else. Like they'll be doodling in their notebooks, or they'll be talking to a classmate. So just like to keep that in mind.
To add to that also, for me there is no estimated time for using my gadgets, because like me student, for me it is useful. Even for me, I am still using my gadgets when I'm in class, because for me it's useful. Even here in our panel discussion, I still use it.
So you believe it helps in terms of, like it's faster in terms of relaying information instead of
You
like
get
books?
more information.
Okay, so our next question is, for usually how long do they use their gadgets every day? And what do these imply?
Well, in my class, I would consider them only using during my schedule or
How
during
long is
our-
one subject? Like how long do you usually take for one class?
Well, for my class, it normally takes an hour and a half, and I would allow them to use it only if it's necessary, because I do not allow my students to use gadgets at all, because if they are not really useful for the topic at hand, I wouldn't really recommend them to use their gadgets, because it will just keep them distracted from getting the lessons learned, and it will be really hard for them in the end, because it is not our loss, it will be their loss. So we were trying to prevent that.
I mean, in the end, they're the ones who will be affected, right?
Yeah,
They're the ones who end up not learning the lessons that they have.
indeed, because it is really important that these students need to learn our lessons that we are giving to them, because we have the knowledge and they are here to learn, not to use their gadgets or cell phones every now and then. They have their own time for that, but as long as I don't see them use it during my class, I would consider it fine. But if they are using it during my class, I would rather give them a warning, or I might confiscate it myself, because it is not really a good sign.
I see. So unless it's needed for your class, you don't recommend or you don't allow the usage of gadgets.
Indeed, very.
I completely agree with your point, because it enforces the discipline that we have to teach these teenagers who are still in their development stages. It forces the discipline to really know when it's okay and when it's not okay to use your gadgets.
Because it's not always bad, right?
Yeah,
It's not always bad to use your gadgets. I mean, you know, information age, technology age, like there are many advantages to using your phone, right?
Yes, statistically speaking, we're the generation that generally knows the most, a lot of common knowledge. So gadgets aren't exactly bad. It's really the attitude behind using it when you're not supposed to that's actually
So you
bad.
have to know when to.
Yeah.
So for our next question, would you consider it normal for teenagers to use their gadgets on any occasions? Like as you just said, when is it the right time and when is it the wrong time to use it?
Well, based on what I said, it really depends on my scenario during my class because it is my authority or it is my right of duty to give the teenagers the authority to use their gadgets in order for them to learn or to access the book that I gave them so that they can follow up with my topic and they can continue without any delays because it is really that important for them to learn that much. And with the use of technology, I would consider it normal because they are using the technology itself for the greater good or their own benefits. And it's really that simple, but yet really tempting at the same time because if I give them the authority, they might look like they're using their gadgets, right? But I wouldn't know myself because they are far away from me, and I wouldn't be so sure if they are really using the electronics to see the ebook that I gave them, or are they just really using their cell phones to use Facebook or just chatting one another so that they won't get noticed. It is really tough for me to authorize the children or the teenagers to allow the gadgets to be used. So in my case, I would consider it normal and at the same time not normal if they are using it on their own personal desires.
Okay, but for things outside academics, say, because the question is, like, when would you consider it normal for teenagers to use their gadgets? So it's not necessarily just academic situations, like what other, everyday life situations. When is it appropriate and inappropriate? Say like you're in a mass, like it's not appropriate, right? But then some students would still, or teenagers in general, would still use it, even though their parents would get mad because they would be texting a friend, right? So do you guys have any insights on like when it's appropriate to use it, or like say, Mr. Manumbas, like, do your sons use their phones on any inappropriate, like at any inappropriate time?
I've raised my kids to use their gadgets in the appropriate areas, maybe at home when they have free time.
So you're strict on it?
Yes, I am. And maybe it's inappropriate to use phones as like right now if we're using cell phones in a discussion, maybe it's not that appropriate. I think it's very disrespectful. I don't think it's great.
Okay, and what do you have to say about that, Mr. Obama?
For me, I'm addicted to my phone and for some of my gadgets also. Sometimes I don't listen. Maybe it's the negative effect of.
Okay, so you admit that it distracts you from your everyday life?
Yes.
Well, a thing about what I said, I would like to add a point for it. It would be regarding about our school policies and school guidelines, because here's the thing about in our school. There is a rule that we are not allowed to use gadgets regularly. Well, strictly on high school, but in college it's quite fine at times, or maybe not. But in terms of these policies, I would consider it normal if they do not use their gadgets at all, because they are just simply following the duty of the school by not using their gadgets at all. But it's really not normal for a teenager to disregard the rules and regulations of the school itself, because these school policies are designed to protect us or maybe help us at times. Help us at times, yes, from any certain instances that we can imagine. Like during break, we might get like some random text from someone, or maybe something not. But these policies can endure us that we should follow rules. And I would consider it normal if they follow it by not using their gadgets on appropriate times and specific times during their classes or not. But I would consider it not normal if they disregard the school policies itself.
So for our next question, what reactions or behavior occur when the teenager is prohibited to use their gadgets? Like say, like they're using their gadgets for say something, whether important or not, as long as they want to use it, and then you tell them to stop, like as an authority, as a parent, as a teacher, like how do they react, and like what behaviors do they show that they normally wouldn't?
Sometimes I get mad.
So you would get mad, and then what would you, like as a teacher, as a parent?
Sometimes at the teacher,
And then what would you tell your teacher, like it's something important?
Like I don't respect him. Like I just wanna use my gadget like that.
Okay.
So it's a pretty common psychological symptom to have some withdrawals if someone forbade you to use the thing that you are quote unquote addicted to. Like you're normally good at that time. You can grow some resentment for that person, some unneeded resentment. Like for example, if your parent tells you, oh, you can't use the iPad anymore because you can't use the iPad anymore, you're gonna grow some resentment for your parents just because of the fact that they're not allowing you to use your iPad. I think it's really important to instill the knowledge into these kids that what the parents are doing or what the authority figures are doing are they're just trying to discipline you in a way. They're trying to fix the attitude, like what I was talking about earlier, the attitude behind using the gadgets when you're not supposed to.
Okay, so it really is, it all comes down to understanding each other.
Basically.
Like because when your parents get mad at you, like sometimes they don't tell you why, right?
Yeah.
They just tell you, don't use your phone, it's bad, but then you don't know why.
Exactly. It's also kind of a two-way street. The parents do indeed need to explain to their children why what they're doing is wrong and what they can do to fix it.
I see. Okay.
I'd like to add to that because the first time I gave my children the gadget, they would really get into it. And when I would, for example, call them for dinner, there would always be a struggle between me and the three of them because it's as if I'm disturbing them. Like, it's because maybe I don't know what they're actually doing with the gadget because the gadgets have no limitations these days. I mean, the internet, you can do anything. So my kids could be studying or they could be playing. And maybe I don't know what they're doing. So
And you would never know unless you see the screen, right?
yes. That would cause the conflict between the two.
Well, that point really can expand to any other situations, not just in homes or dinners, right? We can also incur that event in one of my classes or like in my consultation time where I ask my students to come visit me so that we can have a talk about their grades. And mostly when they come in, they have their gadgets in their hand. And I don't know whether they're texting or just posting something on Facebook. But when it's about the time to talk about their grades concerning their academic performances, it's really kind of rude for me because as soon as I try to say my concern about them, that they need to give more effort to this class and they need to get better grades, I can see them at the side of my eye that they are just looking at their cell phone most of the time instead of looking at me and seeing what is needed to be seen, because I give them papers showing their grades, which is kind of low, like 10 out of 20, 8 out of 20 or something like that. It's really kind of disappointing for me that I'm showing my concern for the student, but it doesn't really show that the student care about his grades. That kind of worries me, and at the same time it kind of offends me because I need to be...
Like you're the one teaching, right?
Yeah,
instead they're looking at their phones.
Yeah, I am the teacher, and it is my concern that they should pass this, because it's for the benefit of their future. And it really is really a sight, not a sight to be seen, that I can see them looking at their phones, more focused at what they're doing on their cellular phones or tablets or whatever, than what is really on topic at hand and what I'm trying to say to them, because it's not really that normal or not really that good on their behavior. And I would consider that really an offending part for us teachers, because we are trying our best to teach these kids, and in the end they will just like knock it off and lays it off because they think they can just like, they can just like pass with like 75% only or 70%, which is not really a great deal because it just shows how lazy they are or not focused on the important parts of the
task
life.
at hand.
Yeah, it is really not a good sight at all because they should have time for studies and their free time as well, not for leisure or anything at all. But it would be better for them to have the time for studies as well because it could be more simplistic and it would be more beneficial to have them more knowledge. At the same time, they can have their fun afterwards.
I like to add that maybe that attitude also comes from the students having one, a lack of respect for the authority figure, in this case you, and two, the students' general lack of interest in subject matter. Like you said, you teach math, right?
Yes.
Math's a very uninteresting subject to a lot of students.
Well, it's not really interesting to other people, but
Yeah.
it would consider the most important fact about the world because math
Yeah,
is
it is.
known by
Math is
numbers.
important.
It's
And
important,
not a
but
lot of
students
students
find it very
necessarily,
interesting.
yes, get
I
that
think
way.
for you as a teacher, a way to solve this problem is one, build some respect through acknowledging that your students are willing to learn. If you make the lesson interesting, maybe
Try to make math as interesting as possible, right?
maybe incorporate games or give them bonus points for being attentive in class, and give them incentives to be interested.
Yeah, I also think like reward is very important. So when the students like listen and that you realize that, I think you should reward them so they feel more, determined to like listen in class instead of when you teach, in a black and white way. It's like, they get distracted, they start using their phones, right?
Because what goes through a lot of these students' minds is you teach them like a formula. They're thinking, when am I ever going to use this outside of school? When I go into the real world, I'm not going to use this. So maybe you can help apply these lessons to a real life situation that the students may one face now or face in the future.
So for our next question, so upon this addiction, what are the effects that can harm the teenager's mental or physical state? So it's more of the psychology, like, behaviors. Like when they're already addicted, what changes do you see?
Well, according to a lot of researches that I've read throughout my career is that a lot of mental illnesses can be drawn from addiction to gadgets, and addiction in general, to be honest. Like you can get depression because of lack of physical contact with the outside world. You can get insomnia because staring at your screen before going to bed will make it more difficult for you to go to sleep.
Yeah, I mean for all of us, like when we're using our phones, it's harder to fall asleep.
I can admit, I'm also guilty of this. Usually, right before you go to sleep, you check Twitter or Facebook or something like that. And it makes the screen really makes it harder for you to fall asleep, and you tend to procrastinate more. And since you procrastinate more, you kind of put off your responsibilities and obligations, meaning you're going to be more anxious and might soon build an anxiety disorder.
Okay, so for a parent, for your kids that are already addicted, what daily habits do you notice that have changed, like the negative ones? Do you notice any changes?
My kids would usually just stay in their rooms. They aren't that social.
Okay, so you would say that they used to talk to people more, and then
Yes.
once you gave them their gadgets, they talk less.
They used to play with our neighbors, actually. They would play outside their homes, but right now it was more on gadgets, and they really focus on gadgets as if that's already their playmate. So right now they're just in their rooms. They usually lock themselves in their rooms. They never go out.
Alright, so for a student, what's your defense here? Like, how would you defend gadgets? Like, you're always on your gadget. Like, everyone here is saying you're always on your gadgets. How would you defend that?
For me, gadget is important for us millennials. Like, this is the way how we can do our things.
I mean, everything's in it, like a calendar, a watch,
Yeah.
like the internet. You can put your notes in your phone, right?
Yeah. That's why it's useful for me. That's why I'm getting addicted to it.
So you would say it's addicting, like you would use it more and more, and it would distract you, and then would you say it has made you more socially withdrawn than what you used to be before? I mean, you're third year in Ateneo.
Yeah.
So it was. So it does make you.
Yeah.
Okay, so our last question is, what are your possible solutions or ideas to prevent the teens to use their gadgets more often than they should? I mean, I don't think you necessarily have to lessen the time they use it. Like, how do you teach them to use it on more appropriate times than what they normally would? Like say for Sir here, like during his class, it's really distracting. Like, how would you teach them to use it on the times when they're free or appropriately, in more appropriate moments for events?
Well, for once, for the very first and the most general part of it, for every school is the school policies itself, where the students are prohibited to use their gadgets on specific times and specific dates or something like that. But it would be considered a possible solution for us teachers, because when you limited their use of gadgets, it would be based on Mr. Kevin Matthew, it would say that when he said that when the school was banned the use of gadgets, most students that were using the gadgets increased their academic improvement. Their grades went up, their innovation went up, their motivation went up, and I could tell just by looking at them that they became more focused than the lessons or the subjects that they are handling, because without the use of gadgets, they have less and less things to accommodate during the time in school. And for my case, I could use some incentives for them by not using their gadgets, but I only use them rarely, because in the end, if I use it too much, that would just give them additional points for nothing, because they will just try themselves to not use their gadgets at all, and they will just get plus points, and then afterwards they will just use that gadget all over and over again till at home. But in another research based on Jagadesh, he said that when this ban of cell phones was happened, this can reduce the distractions for teachers and for the students as well, because they do not have the accommodation to tend to look at their phones. And it will be a lot more simpler, because they cannot cheat as well, because most students use this for cheating. And I could consider that all of us here can relate to that. Yes?
Okay, so that's it. Those are all the questions for our panel discussion. To conclude, I think what we all got from here is that gadgets are okay, and they pose a lot of negative effects on teenagers who get addicted. But then there are also many students who aren't addicted and use it for necessity, to call their mom, to search the internet for things they need. So I think that if you guys agree with me, I think that it's fine to use gadgets as long as it doesn't get in the way of your daily activities, doesn't distract you from people you normally talk, right? Okay, so that's it. That concludes our panel discussion. Thank you. Again, I'm Gabriel Hobson, your moderator. Here we have with us Jan Angela C., Brian Yatko, Carlo Manubas, and Jericho Esteron. So, thank you for listening.
Alright, but okay, just for the sakes, obviously you didn't open the door.